Thank you for the opportunity to share thoughts on how to realize fantastic efficiencies in product creation. The world is a better place with more creators in it, absolutely. The world is happier when people have fun, enjoyable experiences as well. New opportunities are on the horizon for product creation and the benefits of holistic interaction, not only for the product development process, but for amazing interactions customers will enjoy in the future. We've all heard this philosophical question: if a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? This thought experiment raises questions regarding observation and perception. Philosopher George Berkeley, in his work, A Treatise Concerning the Principles of Human Knowledge, posed this question in 1710, and I believe it has relevance today. Similarly, for innovation, if an innovation is created and no one is around to experience it, does it do any good? It took 60 years for the flush toilet to reach 20% adoption. It sure seems like a great idea. I think we'd all agree. Conversely, it took less than 5 years for a tablet device to reach 20% adoption. It took years to bring immersive evaluations as part of the product development process for most organizations. But still, holistic interaction is only partially fulfilled. It takes courage to innovate. It requires fortitude to take your ideas and see it through to its application and use for its intended purpose. Seeing it through is hard work. It touches so many people's lives. It affects people personally in the way they conduct themselves professionally every day. And many good ideas are not realized because they introduce this change and require a lot of creative implementation and cultural shift. So I want to talk about a gentleman back in the day, a smart man named Douglas Engelbart, who showed a suite of innovative technologies, and later this was termed the mother of all demos. Engelbart demonstrated the most fundamental elements of modern computing. Back in 1968, he showed Windows, hypertext, a graphical interface, efficient navigation and command prompt, video conferencing, the computer mouse, word processing, dynamic file linking, revision control, and a collaborative real-time editor for collaborative work. This was open source real-time collaboration with one person in Menlo Park and one in San Francisco editing a document in real time. Think of that, back in 1968, before the internet, when they were using what was at that time called DARPANET. In essence, this was like Google Docs, which was launched 38 years later in 2006. Engelbart's desire truly was to make the world a better place, and I believe it could have been better sooner. What company or organization could have realized benefit from this type of technology prior to 2006? What new innovations would have come if the tech was brought forth in the 80s and the 90s? Engelbart described a concept he termed collective intelligence, how to extend your knowledge through the smart use of technology. And I believe we are embarking upon a renaissance, a new age, where technology can finally work with you naturally, where you can learn and grow with your teams, train models over time based on experience and discovery in virtual environments, present you with information in context that's relevant to you. And there are many things driving disruption in our world right now, and I want to just touch on that. We have so much going on with the demographics of the world changing, with many frontline workers and industry professionals that are set to retire in the near future, leaving a skills gap. And incoming frontline workforce are digital natives, and they've grown up with the internet, and new technologies are not as different from what they know and understand. There's a lot going on in sustainability, a lot of use of technology and the ways that we're using tech to accelerate how we do product development. And of course, I just need to mention COVID-19. It's been an unexpected disruptor, and I believe that some of the technologies for immersive understanding and real-time 3D creation can really help bring us together in this time when we are geographically separated. And so now let's look back a little bit in history. And so circa 1950 to 1980s or so, consider the methods and the ways that we used to work. we were doing worse than flat screen reviews, vellum. So just drawing on a board. And when we went from vellum to CAD, it was a major thing. But this is the way all automotive, aerospace, and more worked back, back in the day, so to speak. And then industries realize benefits from CAD and other digital design and engineering technologies. And then think of the increase in information received when they made the transition from vellum to CAD. Flat screen digital views extended levels of understanding of design and allowed design and engineering to share status. CAD, data management, creating bill of process, bill of materials, analytics, CAE, computational fluid dynamics, all of these things and more allowed auto, aero, and other manufacturers to understand functions in much greater detail. And so now we're beginning new levels of understanding of each other, holistic interactions, collaborative interactions, considering the global enterprise without fanfare, part of the process and part of product creation, including all relevant information with engineering integrity. That's fantastic. And importantly, always with the ability to represent the customer's viewpoint, show analytics in the context of the customer. And experience is changing. We're now in an experience economy, not a product economy. This is a typical and fun in-vehicle experience. Experience for a user in automotive was really about in-cabin, 3 rows, command position type interactions, and also the use of the vehicle during entry and exit. So basically in the past, UX was focused mostly on ergonomics, and ergonomics is very important and it always will be. But the nature of interactions has changed, and customers' free time can be used in novel ways. And product design is evolving to think of user experience and experience design, to look at the whole and not just the separate, distinct parts of your product, so things work in harmony. Experience design is the practice of designing products, processes, services, events, journeys, and environments with a focus placed on the quality of the user's experience and also considering culturally relevant solutions. And experience design, of course, this is probably a primer for a little bit, and a lot of people probably know. But anyway, user journeys, user personas to really get at, to take research data and personify it and then demonstrate its use. So that's really what UX work is about. And then a lot of technology is used to employ solutions. So sketching and whiteboarding are still a critical way of working. Wireframes, high fidelity mockups, prototypes where you take part of the physical world and maybe part of the virtual world, put it together, and then bring that in for some user testing. And the reason why I'm also bringing this up is storytelling. Stories are all around us. They're what move us, that's what make us feel alive. Stories inspire us. And whether we're a geek that is in engineering and loves numbers and really responds to Excel, or an artist who is looking at the proper flow and function of something, there is still a story to be told in the products that are created and the way that they are created. And it is important to use technology to connect people not only emotionally, but also intellectually into the product. And so now I think sometimes the best guide forward is often to look to the past. And so I took inspiration from some very wise people and for immersive platform to inspire and enhance global collaboration along the spectrum of design to engineering. So Aristotle said, the aim of art is to represent not the outward appearance of things, but their inward significance. That quote reminds me of all the data that's collected and interpreted in the product creation process. How must it be viewed from the perspective of what the customer who buys and spends time in the product will experience? And to be constantly mindful that the customer is at the heart of everything. The second wise man is, of course, Albert Einstein, who said, there is only the way of intuition, which is helped by a feeling for the order lying behind the appearance. Essentially, everything has to make sense and be in a specific, proper order. That way, you'll know it when it's done correctly. And finally, Vitruvius rounded out these inspirations by saying, beauty is produced by the pleasing appearance and good taste of the whole, and by dimensions of all parts being duly proportioned to each other. When something is right and it works, there's a natural symmetry and a way of understanding that intention. These quotes from these monumental individuals provided inspiration to think strategically about a philosophy to get at the heart of experience, to understand products in many different facets. The goal is to put as much relevant information as possible into immersive environments and review it in context to drive a holistic appreciation of a customer's experience. Because understanding what somebody personally connects to, I think, is what these three gentlemen are really getting at in their own way. And so further, I want to talk a little bit about human vision. We see the world through a small degree of high visual acuity, and our brain stitches together input that we receive. So our eyes kind of dart around in this small area of high visual acuity. And because our brains are involved in stitching our world together, in my opinion, all bets are off, because what we see is interpreted by our brains, and there's a level of subjectivity that ensues. This manifests in interpretation of intent versus actual intent. And so how can we take subjective data and put it into an objective context? I think we need to go back to science for that. So look at the physical properties of light and how it propagates in a scene. Think about environmental simulations and the effect of environment on virtual data. Think about aspects of human vision and stereoscopy. And that leads to real-time ray tracing. Think about all of the information that is imparted in a really well-crafted, immersive experience based on the real way that light behaves in a scene. We can get so much more information that's not only scientific, but also emotive. We can really understand how a product looks, how it looks under many different lighting conditions, and how it might change its appearance just based on the environment that it's in. And so this is an effective representation of multifunctional capabilities. I really like this because this image really shows a use of storytelling to create mood, and it showcases use cases in a first person and a third person representation. And so when you see something like this and you can get in that world or view it from above and create these dynamic experiences that people have, you can start to ask questions that, and then can you get at the heart of something like this in your organization? So where are you today with the holistic product creation technology, and where do you want to go? Do you collaborate in an immersive space, sharing the benefits of personal connection to scientific and artistic data? Do you evaluate engineering and design considerations from the customer's perspective? Do you see and understand and experience the data in context? There's a new way to communicate, experiential, that brings things to a common understanding of your product, which everyone understands. And you can see from this, not only is there truth in data and the insight that you get, but all of these functions are actually interconnected and can be viewed together. And I'll show that in a little bit. But a really great collaborative, immersive, real-time 3D strategy does bring a spreadsheet to life for an artist, and it does bring a design to life for an engineer. And it really is the perfect communication paradigm for unlike minds. And so experiences can evolve with the custom custom information through human-machine interface. So HMI is a very critical area where we can deliver responsive and powerful in-cabin experiences that the customers demand. There's an accelerated demand to enhance overall experience within the vehicle. This demand, driven by digital technologies like Unity, is the reason why innovations in HMI to increase engagement and excitement is so critical. Many people have changed their relationship with vehicles. In the past, it was pride of ownership. Owners polished and cleaned and cared for vehicles. Now some consider a vehicle a vessel to get someone from point A to point B. So a new paradigm is needed for exciting HMI innovations to deliver experience that brings people together, that includes performance, time, and quality for the interface, that looks fantastic and performs well, and also provides some analytics. And then you can use technology to develop VR and AR tools to improve efficiency for quality of design, for engineering and training. Unity is a flexible platform that supports VR and AR devices, whatever is required. The AR applications developed with Unity have reduced quality inspections from days to hours at many companies. Real-time 3D helps with training and machine learning algorithms for autonomous systems like vehicles, robots, and more. Instead of taking the expensive, time-consuming process to gather real-world data and then labeling it for X number of dollars per image, you can use real-time 3D to create and generate synthetic data and auto-label the data for your perception models. Synthetic data is orders of magnitude cheaper and faster than constructing real-world data. It's a very growing area. And then look at engineering integrity in a new way through using real-time 3D and immersive. This example shows a virtual truck model using holographic technology. By using their industrial workflow, they can view and modify a full-scale body truck design, where prior data was only listed in a spreadsheet that tells us whether we're green, yellow, or red for certain issues. Now, status can be determined representing analytical information and understanding where the product is, and then make corrections. This means that we can combine the engineering practice with the voice of the customer and bring considerations of the customer way up front and keep that focus while design teams and engineering teams iterate and change. And so mistakes can be reduced for in-field service. AR can be employed to inspect electrical wiring systems, understanding where they are. Ensuring proper electrical wiring configurations is crucial for vehicles, to ensure that vehicles operate as intended. In a finished vehicle, however, inspection for connector and pin assignments is a serious challenge. So instead of relying on 2D diagrams, use 3D AR to understand where that is in vehicle, in field service, and get a contextual understanding and visualize the location of the wiring systems without the labor and time needed to remove physical parts. And so the value of holistic information, I believe, is profound. And the interaction models are really the way that we can naturally work together. And I think that when holistic interaction is employed within a large organization, there is a ripple effect that flows throughout multiple organizations to study more relevant iterations, to receive helpful contextual information when you need it, to reveal answers sooner, get directionally correct information sooner, and decrease the development time for faster time to market. And more importantly, people are working, sharing, and discovering naturally. It's authentic because it's based on how you relate to your product, it's based on your workflow, and hopefully it's based on your platform and your pipeline. And so what is the state of your platform and pipeline? Can your infrastructure answer critical questions about experience and interaction? Would you be able to have a cross-functional review, gauging a vehicle's performance, quality, manufacturability, and be able to access product-oriented information, but also have experience information available to you? Would you be able to look at engineering and design and analytics and also ask, are your customers happy? Would customers have fun? What needs are being met by this design? What needs are unmet? And what do they want in the future? And is your immersive real-time 3D capabilities growing organically at a rate of over 25% a year? The technology is so good right now that your enterprise can find new ways to use this technology every day and communicate in a way that is so effective, in ways that probably none of us could actually think about because there are so many uses. And are you able to adapt and grow with that demand? Is it a holistic interaction that's integral to your processes? Are you all sharing a wealth of information? Or does it seem that most swim in their lane only, even when they're together, and not sharing the information each knows one with the other, even when they're together? And so the immersive paradigm, I believe, must work how the enterprise works. This is critical. So, because how can you understand complex systems, interdependencies, and someone else's viewpoint when you must learn a new interaction paradigm? Are you focused on the problem or how to understand the problem? If you have a game controller in your hand and you're trying to look at a vehicle, that's an unnatural interface. So how do you work like you normally work? So I think a holistic approach to technology is also required for product creation through 3D interactive experiences that are as close to the customer as possible to replicate what they would see and understand. Because when you do that, the technology works for you and it allows you to realize your artistic and or technical creativity. A sound interaction paradigm levels the playing field. It sees where the problems are and it finds issues and fixes them naturally. So if a picture is worth 1,000 words, what does it mean to have information presented to you in context, volumetrically, visually, with others within a globally connected team? The holistic product creation and immersion is worth 1,000,000 words, in my opinion. And the value of real-time 3D to communicate and understand is one thing we need to think about. That's where we go from here. The power in the subtle cues and the way that we see the world around us, and a future where getting immersed is available to everyone, where it's smart, growing and learning with the discoveries that product creation teams make. It's instinctive, knowing when others need important information. And it's strategic, and it's focused on the holistic business practices to enable enterprise to work intuitively, to express their creativity and their passion. And so to continue to evolve communication so artists and engineers and manufacturing process and more can have a meaningful dialogue and communicate in a way that is extremely effective and insightful, despite being people who are worlds apart as far as their mental models. That is so important so that these people that have these different viewpoints can all be represented in context. And use the immersive capabilities for the insight to create environments that provide everyone with something to relate to and understand. Get the right data to the right people in the right geography in the right context. So you can experience design generation in real-time 3D and with a personal connection. And you can have an integration of as many or as few senses for understanding, including all information required for the senses, meaningfully integrated. Experiential presence and storytelling to do what-if studies and to get at the heart of what the customer wants. And use the excellent potential for integration with AI to learn from and impart wisdom to. So what can you learn from experiences in an immersive environment? A lot. And what wisdom can you impart to others based on what you learned? A lot. And it would be really great to have AI do that for you automagically so that that information comes to you or is imparted from you when it's required. Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and attention, and I hope you're having a great summit. And I'm excited to learn from others attending the conference. Thank you.